Breaking news: in about 2 hours, President Trump will have dinner with China's president at Mar-a-Lago. The two world leaders will hold a formal meeting tomorrow, and at the top of the two's agenda, the growing threat from North Korea.
We have a big problem with North Korea. We're going to see what happens.
So the hope is to get them to bring leverage on the issue in North Korea.
Well, we're going to see what happens, Pete. But I will tell you, we'll be in there pitching, and I think we're going to do very well.
Joining us now is Gillian, former member of the National Security Council. She's also a Fox News contributor, along with Gordon Chang, the author of The Coming Collapse of China. Gordon, let me start with you. What do you think his best approach is?
The best approach for Trump really is to talk about trade. And the reason is that the Chinese economy right now is stumbling. The U.S. has a lot of leverage here because the Chinese need access to the U.S. market. They need U.S. investment. They need those things more than they have in the last 20 years. So I would start out with where we have the most leverage.
Gillian, can you parlay that, do you think, into getting them to help with North Korea?
Well, I think certainly, if this was back during the campaign just a few months ago, trade would absolutely be the first thing on the agenda. But given heightened security concerns geostrategically, going on this week, I think that the defense framework is something that really needs to get set up at this summit. It's unclear which way the wind's going to blow here when it comes to North Korea. I think that both these leaders, President Xi and President Trump, have a lot to prove during the summit to their domestic constituencies, who are kind of their primary audience here.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, and I think that's what's foremost in their minds.
Yeah.
So President Trump's probably going to want to bring up trade, the economic relationship. That sort of plays to his interests right now. But I don't know that it does to Mr. Xi.
Yeah. Gordon, there was so much rhetoric on the campaign trail. A lot of people have, said that it's going to be harder as a result of the tough talk. Is that true, or does China's president recognize that that's the campaign trail? That's sort of how people talk to get elected, or would he be offended by the things that President Trump said?
Well, I'm sure that he was offended by many things that Trump said during the campaign and after the election, but also that tough talk did serve a purpose. Because, for instance, we have the Chinese president flying all the way to Mar-a-Lago. And by the way, he arrives there before Trump does, which is really very important from a Chinese protocol point of view. So it shows that Xi Jinping really wants to talk to him because there's a lot of issues there for the Chinese.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And, Gillian, that wasn't lost on me. We were live during that hour watching it happen. And the fact that President Trump arrived second and wasn't there to greet the Chinese president, that's not an accident, right?
No, of course not. I mean, incredibly complex set of protocol rules and procedures go into a foreign head of state visit like this. So it was definitely something that was thought out in advance. This trip's also something that kind of happened at the suggestion of the Chinese, which is another interesting thing. I mean, this was not as simple as an invitation going from the White House to their government. So the whole thing is a little bit unconventional. I think that also the choice of Mar-a-Lago signals a little bit of thinking. You don't want to read too much into it, but it indicates that the president is kind of looking to get up close and personal very quickly, that he's extending, they're meeting at Mar-a-Lago, which is his kind of personal residence in the sense that Camp David would be not his personal residence. That's owned by the federal government. Signals that he wants to kind of socialize with the foreign leader and get to know him and his wife a little bit. I don't know if the Chinese are going to be that sort of flexible here. I mean, by all accounts, this is not a leader who's really interested in that. He's not really interested in he's interested in the optic of being seen with President Trump, but he's more interested in the optic of being seen as victorious and having the upper hand. So I think what stands to be seen over the next few hours and then the next 2 days is really important.
You guys are a great team on this. I hope you'll come back and talk to us again. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa.
Very interesting.